Swayam Prabha. Digital India. Educated India.
The first lecture I am going to give on the series of lectures titled Economy and Society in Contemporary India. In this first lecture, I am going to talk about what economy is all about and what society is all about. The term economy refers to the way in which societies, whether they are small scale societies or the whole world, nowadays the whole world is regarded as a global village, how they manage their valued resources. In order to manage their valued resources, the societies have to have a separate set of institutions. But these institutions, there are also institutions outside society, outside the economy, which deal with various problems of human existence, of societal and of societal concerns. For instance, for the welfare of people in a given society, you have to have health institutions. For education, you have to have educational institutions and so on. So a society consists of numerous institutions, and also it has a patterned, structured manner in which social relations are organized. I will talk about structured manner in which social relations are organized at a subsequent lecture. Now, like these institutions, there are a special set of institutions which are devoted in every society, which are devoted to the management of valued resources. Why should the valued resources be managed? Because by managing these resources, you can produce various items of necessities for human beings, and also you can produce luxury items which people want to possess. So the economy is all about the production of these valued items of consumption that human beings require, both for their existence and for their and for maintaining a luxurious lifestyle. This is not just about economy, is not just about production, but after you produce it, how do you distribute what you have produced is also a problem of economy. Economy is concerned with, there are markets, there are methods of exchange of goods and services where there are no markets. There are markets with where transactions take place on the basis of money. Also, there are markets where barter exchanges occur, and there are markets where international deals, political deals are struck. So there are different types of markets. Not only the economy consists of markets and production systems, it also consists of ways by which you can raise resources for investing in a productive activity. That means there should be mechanisms in a society to raise surplus for production for the next year, especially in agricultural activities. In order, you have to wait for nearly 3 months, 4 months for your next harvest to come, and you have to invest your labor. You may have to use the plow, and you may have to use several other equipments to produce agricultural equipments to produce the to have the harvest, after 3 months. But during those 3 months, you need some resources to manage, to pay for the laborers, to pay for the to maintain the plough that you have. If it has to be repaired, you have to pay money for that, and so on. For these, you require additional resources, and you may not be having all of it yourself. You may have to, borrow from others. So economy will also consist of institutions where borrowing is allowed, where you can take resources from others over a period of time. So economy consists of several institutions which are mainly regarded as economic institutions. Economy also consists of several, when you are talking about economy, let us say economy is about the production of valued items, and this production of valued items is called this production of the valued items that are produced are called goods. When I am talking about goods, this is important. I am not talking about, why do I call items that are produced as goods? That means the society considers that as a valued item. Supposing, in our economy today, our goods consist also of cigarettes. Cigarettes are bad for health, but as far as the economy is concerned, it is bought by people. They pay money for it. So it becomes a good, even though from the societal point of view, it may be a bad item. It may be injurious to health. Like that, there are several other goods which are injurious to health. When you are talking of goods, you have to make a distinction between what is called public goods and private goods. This is very important because private goods are meant for people's private goods. For instance, if I have a pen, that's my private good, that's my possession. But if there are also what are called public goods. Public goods are goods which are used by everybody, not just by single individuals or families or households. I'll give you some examples of private goods. For instance, when you buy a car, all right, automobile, it becomes a private good. It's a private good. If you have a bicycle, it's a private good. But if you have, for instance, the roads, the bus service in the city, all right, the post offices, the internet service that's provided, the 4G, 5G, nowadays they are talking about providing 5G connections. Now these are all infrastructure provided for our communication. We can use cell phones, mobile phones, we can use computers, we can use Wi-Fi. All these things are called public goods. Now economy is not only about the provision of private goods. These private goods can be for staple items like rice, like wheat, production of wheat, rice and so on, or about luxury goods, like for instance, if I have a smartphone, all right, if a very expensive smartphone or an expensive watch, all right, that's a luxury good. So goods can be both necessities and luxury items. Apart from these, we have public goods, as I said, trains, public transport buses, public buses, and telephonic system, and highways, and waterways, and gardens in cities. All these are the canal systems, irrigation systems, they are all public goods. Electricity supply, these are called public utilities actually, electricity supply. And sewage system is also a public utility. These are all public goods. So economy is about the production and distribution of both private goods and public goods. This is the first point I want to say about economy. In order to produce these private goods and public goods, we have these institutions. Which are these institutions which are important? You have in the field of agriculture, you have the system of hiring laborers, all right. You have the institution of labor, hiring labor. It not necessarily be hiring labor, by paying wages, but you can also have a system of mutual exchange. In many of the so-called primitive societies, what if I have to harvest my, the produce on my land, I ask my wife's brother to come, or all my wife's brothers to come and help me, to harvest the food, and I give them a feast. Similarly, when they have to harvest their land, I volunteer. I'll go and participate in the work. So this is this. It can be this kind of system, or it can be a wage system, or it can be tenancy. When I give land to others to cultivate, and I'll get a share of the produce. So there are very many ways by which you can organize agricultural production. Similarly, you have banks, all right, commercial banks which lend out money, which accept deposits from from small savers, and then small and big savers also. They collect funds from these from small savers, so that they can lend it to people who want to invest, who want to use it for their for their consumption needs, like for instance to celebrate a marriage, or to celebrate or to perform a religious ceremony, or what have you. So that is, there are banks, there are factories, there are call centers, there are taxi services. All these are or institutions that we have evolved in our society to ensure that valued goods and services are sold. Another point that's very important, when I'm talking about goods, I should also mention along with it the issue of services. Nowadays, services have become very important. Earlier, people used to think that when you are producing goods, you are producing concrete items, like for instance bottles, like chairs and tables and so on. But today we have what is called talk time. What is talk time? That is, if I buy a SIM card, what am I doing? If I am buying a SIM card and insert it in my mobile phone, the SIM card tells me that I can use it. There are about 40 hours of talk time. I can talk for 40 hours with various people. So time also has become has become a valued commodity. Similarly, water. Earlier, we never used to think we used to think that water was free, but today water has become a valued item. Similarly, airwaves. All right. As I said, 2G, 3G, spectrum, the spectrum band has become valuable. This is a natural resource. But there are radio waves. By harnessing radio waves, we can do we can operate on the computer, we can send messages, we can receive messages, we can see pictures, we can see videos, and so on and so forth. So economy is not just about producing concrete goods. Even producing services are considered or which are regarded as valuable services. They are also considered as as involved in economic activities. So what I am trying to say is that economy is also about various types of not just services. I should also mention about knowledge. Nowadays, more and more people who are using computers and so on, they need programs, computer programs, all right. And nowadays, if you want this thing, not just computer programs, nowadays if you produce a, let's say, a camera which can which can take good selfies on your on your mobile phones, and that's it's a better camera than the others in the market, then you are using your knowledge to produce that knowledge of science and technology. So whatever when you translate your knowledge into technology, into various innovations, that knowledge also becomes important. That's why nowadays people take out patents. That is, once they discover a particular technology, a new technology, new way of making, let's say, chapatis. There is actually a computerized chapati machine. Now, it can produce, let's say, at the rate of about 50 chapatis per minute, and you have discovered it and you bring it in the market. Not only that machine is a valued item, but also the patent, you have taken a patent so that others cannot use it. Only you have the right. Anybody who wants to produce that machine has to give you a royalty, all right. So your knowledge also becomes valuable. So economy is becoming more and more about these invisible non-concrete items, production of non-concrete items as well. So in all that I can say is economy is about production and consumption of valued items. Who values it? The society values it. The society regards that certain items need to be paid, they are willing to pay for, let's say, diamond, all right. Diamond is a useless, or gold for instance. Gold is even slightly better. Diamond is what? A stone, all right. And because it is if you polish it, it dazzles. There is a huge value. If there is a big diamond, you also know about Kohinoor. Kohinoor is of no use, except perhaps for glass cutting, all right. But for glass cutting, you can use cheaper diamonds also. But why is that Kohinoor diamond so very valued? Because people think that it's a valuable item. Like similarly, nowadays I'll give you the example of torn jeans. Nowadays it's become fashionable for young men and women to wear not only jeans, but they are torn jeans. They deliberately cut it off, the knee and the thigh and so on. They make it look frayed, all right. When they make it look frayed deliberately, those torn jeans are more valuable. People are willing to pay more money for those jeans. So you can say that it's useless, it's already, it doesn't serve any purpose for me because I don't want to go in according to my value system, wearing torn clothes is a sign of poverty. But today, wearing torn clothes has become a sign of pedigree, a sign of class, high class, a sign of fashion, is a fashion statement. So when jeans, when they are torn, become valued, they become valued because people value them, all right. This society which values them, which pays money for them. If just when I was a young man, if I wore a pant which is torn, nobody will buy the pant in the first place. And if I all that I have to do is with the torn pant, I have to throw it out. I have to give it to somebody who can use it for making bags and some other things. The torn jeans, torn pants did not have any value. Now it has acquired huge value, huge market value, and they are sold by very, upmarket brands, all right. So, whatever the society regards, for which, regards that it is worth paying, becomes a valued item. Therefore, economy is about the production of items and services that the society considers as valued. And for this, there are a whole set of institutions. I will talk about it in the as I go along. So, there is a whole set of economic institutions. But by saying this, I am only telling you half the story, because economy is also a method of managing these resources. It is also not just about producing and consuming resources, but it is also about managing resources. I can produce resources, I can produce, let us say, I can keep on polishing a particular item till it looks, or for instance, let me give the example of, if I want to be an artist, all right. I can spend hours on end to produce what I call is my artwork, but if it's not sold in the market, nobody wants to buy it, it's a valueless item. Now, when I'm talking about managing the economy, I'm talking about something much more than that. I'm saying that I should manage the economy, managing the economy in a wise, in a way by which I am, in a way by which I can get more out of less, or in another way of putting this, when I am talking about managing the economy, is to say I have to make sure that I conserve my resources, for the future generations, for my tomorrow, not just future generations, for my tomorrow also. For I have to use, if I have some money, I have to use it very, in a wise and prudent manner. I can't just fritter it away, because if I fritter it away now, I will not have any money tomorrow. I have to make sure that if I have some money today, the same amount of money is available tomorrow, because if I have a family, I have to feed my family, tomorrow also. So what I have to do is, if I have a stock of rice or food or whatever it is, I have to ensure that it is spread over a number of days till I get more resources that can augment my living for the future. So this is called a very, what shall I say, a wise management of resources. How do you manage these resources? That's a very important question. Economists say when you manage resources, you should do it rationally. Rationality is important, they say. Usually what happens is that most of the societies, pre-modern societies, not modern, today we have all become modern societies, and for instance all these companies that are producing cameras, televisions or tables or chairs or books or bottles or what have you, they all do things in such a way that for the least amount of resources they can get maximum profit, all right. That is called rationality. But there was a time earlier, as I was saying just a few minutes ago, there was a time when rates of exchange were fixed by custom, all right. There used to be a system by which, in a village, this is called the Jajmani system in the village, where what used to happen was Jajmani system in the village, where what used to happen was that if I am an agriculturist and grow on a plot of land, I have grown about, I have harvested about 100 quintals of sugarcane or of rice, all right. Then how do I, how do I take home, let's say about from the 100 kilos of rice, let's say I need about 50 kilos, all right, for my entire year's consumption, for the consumption of my household for the entire year, plus maybe a 10 kilos extra I will need for if there are festivals and so on. So, I will keep about 60 kilos for myself. The remaining 40 kilos, what do? I have employed a worker to work on my farm. So, I will give him 5 kilos or 10 kilos, all right. And similarly, there is a carpenter who has, what shall I say, who has mended my, who has made me new plows, who has made me a new cart, all right. For him, I will pay, customarily I am supposed to pay 10 quintals of rice. So, I will pay it by custom. I will pay. There is my barber who shaves my, beard every month or every week. So, I give him about 5. Customarily, I give him 5 quintals of rice, and so on. I distribute. Here, there is no rationality is involved. There may be a rationality, hidden rationality, but basically we go by custom, all right. Supposing, for instance, I have to, if you have to perform marriage of your daughter in the family, customs demand, that according to your status, you have to spend so much money, all right. That is one way of managing resources. But people say that in modern economies have thrived because they adopt the strategy of rationality. Rationality is a strategy. It can be adopted by individuals, persons, or also by groups and by governments. What is this notion of rationality? Rationality, economists are very concerned about. They say that economics is all about the exercise, a discovery of a method by which you can harness, you can conserve resources, you can use resources, you can produce resources in a rational manner. What does it mean? Usually, one definition of rationality is about working out strategies which link means with ends, all right, which links means with ends. Means I have several alternatives, alternative means. For instance, if I have to go to the market, if I have to go to the market to buy, let us say, laddus, which is famous for, which Kanpur is famous for. I know that the shop is about 10 kilometers from here, all right, and I have at my disposal a bicycle, a car, all right, or I can walk, all right, and I have some resources, whatever resources I have, maybe I have about 500 rupees. Now, how do I select whether I should go by car, by taxi, or by auto, all right, by auto or by auto rickshaw, all right, or walk, taxi, all right. How do I decide how to go to, whether I should go by auto rickshaw or taxi, or I should walk, or hire a cycle, all right, hire a bicycle, all right. Now, if I want to do it, if I want to do it, now I will not just these things, it also depends on the budget I have. If I have about 500 rupees, all right, and my job is only to get, let us say, 10 kilos of laddus, all right. What I want to do is, I want to maybe here more than my income, more than the money that I have, the time is important for me to get these 10 kilos of laddu. So, what I do is, I will calculate, maybe going by taxi is best, because I can go go quickly and come back and buy my 10 kilos of laddu, so that I can spend the rest of the day for other activities. But then a friend of mine may come and say that it is not a rational thing to do in a city like Kanpur, because taxis may take more time because of traffic congestion. Maybe you should take an auto, because auto is not only cheaper, auto is not only cheaper than a taxi, but also it is able to go through by-lanes and so on, and avoid the congestion of the city, and reach there in time and bring you back at an early time, earlier than if you do it by taxi. So, in that case I would choose an auto rickshaw. So, what I am trying to do in this case is that I am making a rational decision. I am choosing the means that I have, appropriate means to get my ends. So, that is the best method of getting my end objective is, with the means that I have, is rationality. Economists, when they talk about management of valuable resources, valued resources, scarce resources, of course, most of our resources that are valued are scarce. If they are not free goods. As I said, nowadays even air is becoming scarce, right. Good air, good quality air is becoming scarce, and nowadays people at home, they start using air purifiers. They pay money to clean the air, because air has been, bad air, polluted air has, gives you health problems. So, what I am trying to say is that valued resources always will be scarce in society, and how do you manage these scarce resources, so that you can maximize, you can get the ends that you want in the most judicious manner. That is rationality. Now, if you want to do it, in this example I was giving about time shortage, I have time shortage, I have only 5 hours, 3 hours at my hand, I have to go there and get laddu. That and then also my end is really here, time. Time is valuable. I already know how much of laddu I will buy. That is given to me, that I have already decided, all right. But time is now scarce for me. I want to make sure that I spend as little time as possible in this expedition of buying laddu, and I have enough money. So, that is not resource, that is not a constraint at all. So, what I do is, I have decided to go by auto rickshaw, because by doing that I am making sure that I spend the least amount of time. Now, what I am I spend the least amount of time to get my laddu. Now, this rationality is all about, whatever you specify is your end or your reward, all right. It is about matching reward with the cost that you have to pay to go and get that reward. If you are buying, let's assume if you want to get laddu, all right, if you want to buy, laddu, if you want to eat laddu, that's your reward. What's the least cost by which now is not my time important. If I say that I want to buy 10 kilos of laddu, all right, what's the least cost, least amount of money with which I can buy 10 kilos of laddu, all right, that becomes rationality. Or if I have the money, the cost that I am given, the money that I am given, the budget I have, let us say is 100 rupees, all right. If that is the case, then I will try to maximize the amount of laddus I buy, all right. That is rationality. But the basic problem is the reward, the benefit minus the cost. Rationality is all about ensuring that the benefit you get, the gap between the benefit you get and the cost that you pay is maximized, all right. If this is fixed, you try to lower this, all right. If this is fixed, you try to increase the benefit, maximize the benefit, all right. You minimize the cost here and maximize benefit here, all right. And there can be a situation where neither of them are fixed, all right, and you have only one specially clearly defined benefit and clearly defined cost. Then you try to maximize the gap between benefit and cost. This can happen because if you more and more of laddus you have, you will start after eating 2 laddus or 3 laddus, you may not want to eat more, all right. So even if there are no limit to the benefit that you can get, you will stop buying laddu, all right. It is not rational to buy more and more laddu. Similarly, cost, you may have a lot of money, but you do not want to spend all that money on just buying laddu. So what the idea is to maximize the benefit minus cost is the maximum. What is that? It is all about satisfaction, it is all about return that you get, right, all right. You feel happy by eating laddu, you maximize your happiness, all right. You similarly, if you want to go to go to see, want to spend some, you want to have entertainment, you will go to a very, you will go to a place, a restaurant where you will get excellent food. Similarly, if there is a, if you are trying to spend money, all right, on music programs, all right, you will make sure that you will get, you go to a music program that you may like old world Hindi film music. So you may choose Hindi film music, you may choose especially your favorite Hindi music, all right, when you have the time, when you have the money and the time to listen to it. So that when you do that, what you are doing is that you are maximizing your satisfaction. You are ensuring that you are maximizing your satisfaction, and in order to do that, you reduce your cost and increase your reward, or reduce your reward. If your reward is given, you reduce your cost. If your cost is given, you increase your satisfaction, maximize your satisfaction. That is, mostly economists, when they talk about rationality, they talk about these ideas about matching ends with means. That is one. And rationality is also about another thing that is called rationality of ends. Is it possible to talk about, I can talk about linking means, judging which is the best way of, doing something to get to buy laddus, all right, which is the best, most rational way. But if I am talking about, say, ends in themselves, I have time and I have to choose between ends. Let us say I have time, I can go and buy laddus which I am very fond of, or I can go to a to a film theatre, I can go to the town and see a film, or I can take my friends along to a restaurant and where I get excellent food, or I can go I can go to a swimming pool, or I can watch cricket match, all right, and so on. So my ends are watching cricket match, all right, laddus, listening to music, all right. These are, let us say, these are my ends. How am I going to say when I am choosing this, should I go see a cricket match, or should I go to eat laddus, or should I listen to music? It depends on me, on my mood of the moment. How can there be rationality in this? We can't have rationality in this. Can we? We can't have rationality in this. It depends it varies from individual to individual. You can say that. But then the problem is that between, in the case of individuals, it may be, not possible to rank these ends in themselves. But in the case of societies, large scale societies, managing societies, there are very many ends. You have to have, as I was saying, to take care of the citizens, you have to have health programs. You have to have hospitals, all right. For education purpose, you should have schools, you should have roads, and other public goods, all right. Now, a state, a government, when it is confronted with these things, it has to make up its mind. What is your priority? You have to list it out. Is there a method by which you can say that, some people say that of course you have to have defense, you have to have military, all right, for security purpose, and so on. Now, how do you make decisions? What is rational way of deciding that health is more important than education, or education is more important than defense? If my country's, our tax, the money that we have collected, the government has collected as taxes is given, how are we going to say that we should spend money on education rather than public goods? Some of the political party leaders, some of the politicians, now they are saying that since our situation in the border situation, since our international situation is very fragile, all right, there are insecurity problems, we should spend more of our budget on defense preparedness. Others say no, that if we want to survive as a nation, we are spending very little money on schools and on education. It's less than even 3% of our budget, of our national income is going into education, or 3% of our annual budget is going into education. We have to increase, our outlay on education, especially on schools, especially on primary schools. Similarly, others may say that health is more important. How are you going to judge? there are economists who say, Professor Amartya Sen says that, that a good government is one which spends on education and health. If you spend on education and health, if you invest in education and health, you will increase human capital in our country. All right. Others may differ, but each one of them may have his own reasons. There is no way by which you can decide which end is, how you can decide how to prioritize your ends. But at the societal level, it is said, of course, the individual level, it depends on, my taste. You see, if I am interested in, let's say, Hindustani classical music, all right, if my culture is one of listening to Hindustani classical music, I may consider Hindustani classical music more important than Bollywood, film music. But somebody else may say that, look, I prefer Western classical music to Hindustani classical music. Each one has its own preferences, and these our preferences are culturally conditioned. Culturally conditioned. If I am, if I am a vegetarian, if I am born and brought up in a vegetarian family, maybe I would like to eat only vegetarian food. Whereas I know of several of my friends, non-vegetarian friends, they feel if there is no non-vegetarian food available, they feel miserable. They want to have every day non-vegetarian food. That too, especially some people from Bengal, they may want to have fish. They may want to have fish every day. Or if they don't have fish that day, they feel that their meal is not complete. So, ends depend on your cultural conditioning, all right, and the climate of the place. In a place like Tamil Nadu, you may not require even a shirt because it's so hot and humid. You may prefer it's cooler to go bare-bodied, whereas in Kashmir you can't do that. It's also because of climate. Now, what I am trying to say is that the ends, when you are talking about ends, preferences of ends, while you are making preferences, when you make choices, priorities of ends, it's not really, it's governed by your custom, non-rational, values, all right. We were talking about rationality and rationality in the choice of ends. If I am an idiot, at the level of individuals, even at the level of households, a household manager, a woman will have to make up her mind, how much she will spend on her children's education, her children's clothes, her children's entertainment, whether she should buy them chocolates or whether she should buy them healthy food. How many times will she take her children out? What's she going to cook? How much of wheat and rice she will use? How much she will spend on vegetables and on health issues? She has to make a choice of ends, rational choice of ends. And there is, as I said, there is no, reasonable way. It all depends on the circumstances, on each particular household, and on the culture of that household. And sometimes you make, on the basis of what you have been on, your habit, you make choices, all right? On the basis of, your information that's available at a given moment, or at if somebody is very ill at home, you don't mind spending, a lot more money in a particular, when somebody is ill at home on nutritious food for that person, for that patient. It depends on situations and so on. So you can't prescribe what is rationality right from the beginning in the choice of ends. But supposing if there are citizens in the country, you see, for instance, we all voted for we vote for different political parties which have their own agenda, which have their own this thing, each party has its own manifesto, and it says that one will do nyay, the other will say that they will ensure that there will be there will be enough jobs, or they will give priority to India's security, and on to nationalism. Different parties have different agenda, all right, in their manifesto. Now we are going to choose, all right. We as citizens have to choose which party, or should we vote for party A, party B, or party C. Let us say that there are three parties, A, B, C, and there are three citizens, P, Q, R, all right. And is there a method by which we can assemble, we can add up the preferences of each of the citizen to arrive at a rational ordering of preferences? You can say that all our citizens, let us say that all citizens prefer A to B and B over C, and therefore can we say that our citizens also prefer A over C? We can say if all of them, if all PQRs say that A is preferred to B, and this is for preference, and B is preferred to C, then we can say that A is preferred to C. All right, we can make consistent choice. We can say we'll allot more money for A and less money for B, and even lesser amount for C. And if everyone has the same kind of preferences, we don't have any problem whatsoever. All right, majority decision will be that A is preferred to C. But then, what if a situation occurs when B says that I prefer C to B, but I prefer C to A? Then I can say that B is preferred to A, all right. Q prefers B to A, and then now let us say R prefers C to A and prefers A to B. So I can say C is preferred to B, all right. These are the three choices. Now supposing we want to make what shall I say, majority decision making. So we will see that there are people, how many people are there who prefer A to B? How many people are there who prefer A to B? P and R prefer A to B. Now let us see how many prefer B to C. How many prefer B to C? Q and P and Q prefer B to C. B is preferred to C by P and Q, all right. Okay. Now let us see how many prefer C to A. R and then Q. Q and R prefer C to A. So you see what has happened. If it is a democracy and majority choice wins, two people choose A to B and two people choose B to C. So we cannot say from this, we cannot say that the society prefers A to C, because there are two people who choose C to A. These are also Q and R. So it is, economists say that rational decision making in a community setting is out of question, is not possible at all. Community decision making cannot be based on rational considerations, that consistent, rationally consistent choice at the community level cannot be made. Now, but there is one situation, especially in the context of distribution, all right, there is one situation, especially in the context of distribution, where some kind of rational criteria can be used. Let us say this is a cake, all right. There are 4 people who want to, who have to whom you have to distribute cake, all right. You have to cut cake and give it to 4 people. 4 people are there, and you tell each one of them that, look here, if you cut the cake, others will choose the size, the slice of the cake that they want, all right. So, if there is a cake, you cut it into 4 pieces. What will happen? Whoever is cutting it, how will he cut it? Because if he cuts a very large piece, all right, then somebody else may choose it. So, what he will do is, he will cut it equally, so that each one will get an equal share, all right. So, it is said that in distribution of laddus, all right, in cutting cakes and so on, you can have rational criteria, all right, rational criterion to choose, to make it to ensure that you distribute valued items equally. But then, how about taxes? All right, is there a rational method of asking, when the government is taxing people, income tax, let us say, all right, when the government is taxing people, is there a, how can we be rational in deciding how to tax people? Should we tax everyone, equally? Everyone should pay 10 rupees, all right, or 10% of his income, all right, as income tax. Is it fair to say that everyone has to pay 10% of his income? Is it a right decision to make? Obviously not, because there are rich people who, they are crorepati's. For them 10% is, is very small amount. So, you say that the richer people will have to make more, will have to be taxed more. That is rational. But here again, there are problems. It all depends on what you regard as important. If you are regarding equality is important, all right, then you say that rich people should pay more. Incidentally, when I talk about inequalities, in the economy, I will mention that economists can argue, all right, we can argue, from a sociological perspective, that reduction of inequalities is good for the society, and therefore it is more rational. Of course, people can differ, but this is one point of view that is projected. All that I am trying to say is that rationality in decision making itself becomes a problematic issue in economics, and there can be varieties of views, right. But it all depends again on the values that you have. Okay? This is about what we are discussing, what we are going to discuss. When you are talking about economics, the economy in society, these are the issues that crop up. Thank you.